This is the story of Isabelle Stadden, the fastest rising backstroker in the world right now, and her collision course with Regan Smith, the woman who holds the world record in the event Stadden just nearly stole from her. 57.55 seconds. That's what a 23-year-old swimmer clocked in the 100-metre backstroke, the third fastest time ever recorded in the history of the sport. 6 months before that swim, she wasn't sure she wanted to swim again at all. No hype following her, no five-star recruiting profile, no future Olympian label stapled to her name since she was 12 years old. Just a woman who almost walked away from the sport entirely and then turned around and swam faster than almost every human being who has ever lived. When the world record holder saw that time go up on the board next to her own, she had a reaction. We will get to that. First, you need to understand where this actually started. Blaine, Minnesota isn't a place you associate with backstroke history. It's a suburb north of Minneapolis, the kind of town with a high school, a hockey rink, and not much reason to end up on a swimming highlight reel. Isabelle Stadden grew up there, the daughter of Jody Stadden, and by all accounts a fairly ordinary kid who liked water sports, painting, ceramics, and baking, nothing that suggested she'd become a top 3 performer in history. The talent showed up early somewhere in a Minnesota pool, and it showed up fast. Ranked 3rd nationally in her graduating class, Stadden committed to Cal, the University of California, Berkeley, back in April of 2019, and went on to become one of the best backstrokers in program history across 5 seasons there. A Pac-12 Swimmer of the Year award came in 2024, along with a runner-up finish in the 100 back at the NCAA Championships. On paper, that's a great college career. What nobody could have predicted was that a great college career wouldn't automatically translate into being the best in the world. And that's where this story gets complicated. Here's the part nobody was talking about a year ago. Weeks after Stadden finished her undergraduate degree at Cal, she showed up to the 2025 US World Trials in Indianapolis, the meet that was supposed to launch her professional career. Instead, by her own account, it turned into one of the worst meets of her life, and she missed the US national team for the first time in 7 seasons. 7 years of making that team, gone in one bad week, at the exact moment she needed a big swim the most. That's when she stepped away, and not for a week or a month. Roughly 6 months passed with her completely out of the pool, and by her own admission, she wasn't sure she was coming back at all. Nobody knew if Isabelle Stadden's swimming career had already ended quietly, without a headline or a farewell tour, just another talented swimmer who peaked in college and faded the way so many before her had. That's the version of this story that almost happened. But then she made a decision. Leaving Cal and the West Coast behind, she moved to Charlottesville, Virginia, to train with the University of Virginia's professional group under Todd DeSorbo, the coach who led the US women's team at the 2024 Paris Olympics. This time, in her own words, she wasn't doing it for a team or to satisfy anyone else's expectations. She was doing it for herself. 4 months into that training group, in early March of 2026, she swam a 2:05.9 in the 200-metre backstroke at a Pro Series stop in Westmont, California. That number doesn't sound massive until you hear the comparison. Her previous personal best in that event was 2 minutes 7.28 seconds, a time that had stood since 2021. 5 years of standing still, gone in a single race, and then May 1st and 2nd happen. Fort Lauderdale, Florida, the Fort Lauderdale Open. Friday night brought the 200-metre backstroke final, with Regan Smith, the American record holder and second fastest woman ever to swim the event, right there in the water beside her. Stadden touched the wall first at 2 minutes 4.37 seconds, with Smith behind her at 2 minutes 6.38 seconds. That's a rare domestic loss handed to Regan Smith on US soil, in a race she has dominated for years. Overnight, Stadden jumped from the 13th fastest woman in history in that event to the 4th fastest, trailing only Kaylee McKeown's world record, Regan Smith's American record, and Missy Franklin's mark from 2012. 4 names on that list, and one of them hadn't been there 24 hours earlier. Saturday night brought the 100-metre backstroke, the glamour event, the one carrying the world record. Stadden and Smith lined up side by side again, and this time, Smith got her hand on the wall first at 57.49. Right next to it sat Stadden's number, 57.55. Say it again, 57.55. Both women finished under 58 seconds, both among the fastest to ever do it. And Stadden, the swimmer who 6 months earlier wasn't sure she was coming back, had suddenly become the third fastest performer in the entire history of the 100-metre backstroke. Talking to SwimSwam afterward, she didn't sound shocked at all. Her words carried the calm of someone who had been quietly building toward exactly this moment. "I can't say it wasn't expected," she told the outlet. "I feel like I've been working really hard in training and been holding a pace that represents the time I just went, but it was really exciting to see it all come together." Tell me in the comments if you saw this coming. Going from almost quitting the sport to top 3 in history in 6 months isn't something I would have predicted. And I want to know if you had this on your radar. Let's put that number in real context, because third fastest all time gets thrown around loosely in this sport. And here, it actually means something. Only 6 women in the entire history of competitive swimming have ever gone under 58 seconds in the 100-metre backstroke. 6 ever. Isabelle Stadden is one of them. Above her sit exactly 2 names, Regan Smith, the current world record holder at 57.13, and Kaylee McKeown, the Australian swimmer who held that record before Smith took it. That's the entire list ahead of her. The 200 tells the same story. Kaylee McKeown's world record from 2023 sits at the top, followed by Regan Smith's American record, set when Smith was just 17 years old back in 2019, and then Missy Franklin's mark from 2012. A time that survived over a decade of the sport getting faster and faster. Stadden is now within striking distance of erasing that name from the conversation entirely. World record holders, Olympic legends, and then a swimmer who, less than a year earlier, missed the US national team and didn't know if she'd race again. This isn't a steady climb, and it isn't a prospect quietly working her way up the rankings over a decade. This is a woman who reinvented her entire career in a matter of months and walked straight into a conversation with the best backstrokers who have ever lived. Here's where this is heading. Late July of 2026 brought Stadden to the US National Championships in Irvine, California, where she won the 50-metre backstroke national title in 27.09 seconds, passing Regan Smith on the all-time American list in that event as well. Smith wasn't even there. Along with Catherine Burkhoff and Claire Curzan, she skipped that meet entirely to rest up for the one that actually matters, the 2026 Pan-Pacific Championships. That meet runs in Irvine, California from August 12th through the 15th, marking the first time the US has hosted a major international long-course swimming championship since 2010, and the last major stage before the Los Angeles Olympics in 2028. If Stadden lines up next to Regan Smith there, on that stage, with the world actually watching, that's no longer a domestic pool showdown in Florida. That's the real thing. Tell me in the comments whether you think Isabelle Stadden beats Regan Smith when it actually counts. Not at a mid-season pro meet, but at Pan Pacs, with a medal on the line and the whole world watching from the stands. Drop it below, every comment gets read. Pan Pacs is only weeks away, and once that lineup is finalized, we'll be back with full breakdowns of every American swimmer chasing a medal in Irvine. If you want to see how this Stadden versus Smith story actually plays out on the biggest stage of the year, subscribe so you don't miss it when it happens.